Alright guys, welcome to the third episode of the Metal Klaw Podcast. I just fucked up the intro.
Wow.
Today we're talking about power metal! That was my co-host that you hear screaming like a small child, Tim from the Late Reviews. I am back from Zach vs. the Blu-ray Mountain, and I think Tim has some news he wants to talk about.
All right, yeah, I do have some news, actually. Two releases. One from the metalcore post-hardcore band The Devil Wears Prada called Transit Blues. If you guys have listened to them over the years, you know that they kind of started out like every other band. You know, they sounded a lot like Under Oath and stuff like that. And they've really pushed their sound. And they're one of the few bands that isn't just cranking out the same album over and over again. It's probably because they stopped recording with Joey Sturgis and tried, you know, finding other people to record with. But I did hear a song that they put out not too long ago, maybe back last week, and it was super, super unique. It used a lot of that screaming poetry type of sound to it, and it was very, very cool. So Zach, I mean, have you listened to The Devil Wears Prada?
Off and on, here and there. Not really one of my favorite bands. I mean, every time I hear Devil, I think of Devil Driver, and I just get distracted because I love Devil Driver.
Well, I do suggest checking out that song, checking out this new album. I've yet to check it out, but I can imagine it's actually pretty unique and different. And the other release that came out on the 7th was Meshuggah's new album called The Violent Sleep of Reason. Meshuggah is a pioneer. We talked about it last episode. They started the gent sound, but they really are like the grandfathers of that. And I think it's pretty amazing that they're still cranking out music. Their last album was awesome. I believe it was called something with a K, Colossus. That album was dope.
Colossus.
Yes.
Colossus.
All their music is dope. I'm definitely gonna be checking this album out. How about you?
Oh, definitely. I loved Colossus. It was heavy as shit, and I just love them. They're amazing. They can do no wrong, and I can't wait for a new album, dude. Can't wait.
Yeah. So that's all I've got for news. You got anything?
I do have some news for you guys, and it's not really news. It's something that I've been saying wrong for 2 episodes. So I want to say this right and just get this out here and tell everyone that I'm a dumbass. Trivium does not have a self-titled album. Vengeance Falls is the name of that album.
Oh, the one with the T. Yeah.
The one with the giant T that I thought was a self-titled album for 2 fucking weeks. It's called Vengeance Falls. So that's my news item for today.
Okay.
And Tim's wearing the Trivium t-shirt right now, so that's what inspired that, oh my god, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew what you were talking about. This Trivium shirt I'm wearing right now, on the back it says Happy Fucking Holidays.
That's awesome. See, I know where that one dislike came from on our Core Bands episode. The people that know that album is called Vengeance Fucking Falls. Zach's an idiot. All right, guys. So we're going to get into...
I've been pronouncing that Trivium for a long time.
Trivium?
I know.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Trivium. They're environmentalist band. And okay, so we've got
Gojira is an environmentalist band.
Did you say vagina?
Gojira. All right,
Godzilla.
Zach, go to the next segment.
Okay, so guys, today, like I said at the very beginning, this is the power metal episode. So we're going to talk about a genre within metal that is just all out fucking crazy. It's powerful. It's epic. It's like a live action fantasy series in music. It's just, that's the way I describe it.
I would also I would also describe it that way. It's like I'm going to the Renaissance fair, but like the heavier Renaissance fare. There's so many different types of sounds within power metal, just like most genres of metal. There's always different subsections, but I think your description is perfect. It is epic. It is fantastical, fantasy based. It is just expansive and also technical. I think I already said that, and super just like masterful.
Yeah, I mean it's the light side to death metal. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just as heavy as some of these really hardcore heavy bands. Like there are bands out there that are super heavy that are also power metal bands, but not to say that there aren't super heavy power metal bands like Children of Bodom, Halloween, Flesh Blood Apocalypse. You can even call Septic Flesh a power metal band. There are heavy versions of that too.
That's like symphonic death metal.
Yeah, symphonic death metal is like another offshoot. Yeah, it's like a combination of death metal and power metal. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into that. So I'm going to start out with something wacky. I personally love this band. They are really fucking cool. And if you like pirates, you're going to love this band. If you like super, really technical guitar riffs, solos, if you're a fan of keyboards, I'm just going to say that right now. And if you're not a fan of keyboards, power metal is probably not the genre for you. But we're going to talk about Alestorm.
I haven't actually listened to them.
Alestorm has started a kind of new genre. It's a little jokey called pirate metal. All of their albums have a pirate theme. They dress up as pirates for their concerts. They are the epitome of wacky, mythical, just awesome, nerdy metal. You know what I'm saying?
Are you a big fan of pirates in general? Like,
I am.
Okay, because I gotta admit, I have not listened to this band, but I don't know if it sounds. I don't know. Like, does their sound like pirates as well? Like yo ho ho.
Yes, they sound very, very.
I don't know if I can get into that.
They are, like I said, they're wacky, and I just really like the band. I just like their musical style. They've had quite a few lineup changes over the time, but their first album is called Captain Morgan's Revenge, and I absolutely love it. It's pretty great. I know you're gonna hear a lot of laughing on this episode, but that's because power metal is nerdy and cheesy, and it's a very select genre of music. It's
fun. I've actually never been to a power metal show live, but I've watched a lot of footage and stuff. There's some really great documentaries about power metal out there, the history of it. And one thing that Zach, you've mentioned already is that it's wacky, and it's actually like if you go to like a Cannibal Corpse show, you're gonna get like beat the fuck up. And you don't want to mess with certain people. I have a feeling, and what I've gathered from watching all this footage and stuff is like power metal is the nice side of metal. It's the nice fans, the fans who are just there to have a really good time, enjoy music, have a few drinks, get down with your nerdy self. It's kind of like the Comic-Con metal.
Oh, definitely. I mean, power metal is the kind of music that you want to drink to, because it's just going to open up your imagination even more.
Yeah, and the lyrics are also mostly, from what I've also picked up, is like the lyrics are super positive. They're aspirational, and a lot of power metal music is not dark sounding. There's poppy choruses, there's poppy verses, fast stuff, but most of the choruses are like very uplifting and anthem. It's kind of anthem metal.
It is like, it's very inspirational music, like, and we're gonna make it something that we can relate to. There's actually a YouTube content creator out there, and I'm sure you probably heard of him, Pelike.
Yeah, he does all the covers.
He does covers, but he used to be in a power metal band that I cannot remember the name of right now. I had their EP and I loved it, Bringer of Light. I forget the name of the album. I forget the name. The Bringer of Light is the name of the album, but I can't remember the name of the band. Damnation Angels. That's the name of the band.
Okay.
That was his first band before he went solo with the YouTube thing. But you were talking about inspirational music. He put out a self-titled album called Pelican that is, it's probably some of the most inspirational stuff I've ever heard. Like, it just makes me want to go out and be a better person. You know what I'm saying?
That's so sick. And who would have thought, metal bringing people and being aspirational, like hardcore is aspirational. I can't think of many death metal bands that's like, it's like if you're in a death metal band, there's a good chance you're singing about like, murder, killing, death, all this stuff. And it's just cool that there is a side that can be equally as technical and heavy and fast, but can leave you with something that you can actually take away from it and, not be targeted as like the stereotypical metalhead.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the main reason why I wanted to bring up Ailstorm is because this is the kind of genre where you can have that goofy gimmick.
Yeah.
And you're still taken seriously in the genre of music that you play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gimmick bands in power metal. Go ahead, look them up. You'll find them. There's tons of them.
Well, we'll get into this later because I actually have two bands that before we delve into power metal, and I think what's interesting is like each band that me and Zach are going to talk about have a conversation behind each one, because like we mentioned earlier, there are so many different power metal styles and sounds that it's not just one type of music. But the first two bands I want to just mention before we jump into it, because they're kind of hybrids. One of the more straightforward ones is Mutiny Within. They only had 2 albums. One album was totally backed. I think they were on Metal Blade, I want to say. And then they lost their record deal because the music industry sucks ass. And they then self-published their second album. And their first album is more power metal. It's this weird hybrid between metalcore and power metal. And the Chris Clancy, that's the lead singer, his vocals are, God, they're so good. You've heard them, Zach?
Oh yeah, I've heard of probably every band on your list, because power metal. I'm not trying to sound cocky here. Power metal is just something that I kind of gravitated towards because I like the guitar virtuosos and stuff like that, like Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, Joe Satriani, and that kind of stuff kind of transferred over to power metal. Because power metal came out probably around the late 80s. I'm thinking the late 80s, early 90s. A lot of those guitar guys from the United States, minus Yngwie Malmsteen, inspired a lot of these guys to play music.
Definitely. It's that virtuoso guitar playing. It's Yngwie, or however you pronounce his name.
Yngwie Malmsteen.
The minute you say his name, I think of Arpeggios from Hell. He's just an amazing guitar. There's all these dueling guitars. There's my favorite is the guitar and keyboard solo, where the keyboard's doing the exact same thing as the guitar solo. Mutiny Within has, like I said, an interesting mix. But the last band I want to mention before we jump into full-on power metal is Him. You listen to them? So Him is a Finnish. They call themselves Love Metal. That's a stupid name. I just think they're an alternative rock, Finnish hard rock band. But
that sounds like such a band way to describe yourself. Oh, we're Love Metal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They're not.
Have to say to Love Metal.
Sticking the middle finger up. They're not metal, but his voice and a lot of the melodies within Him, especially their later music, is power metal. When I was actually, before me and Zach started recording this, I've been, listening to a lot of power metal in preparation. And I was like, certain bands, I'd be like, holy shit, that sounds just like Him. And it makes sense. I mean, they're European. They obviously are around this music all the time, but that just goes to show like power metal has seeped its way into other genres of music, like hard rock and like goth rock, I guess. So Him, I mean, his voice is definitely power metal, and a lot of the like synths in it are also. Yeah,
I remember when Wings of a Butterfly came out. I remember that song. I love the song. I hated the rest of the album, but I love that song. That song is really good.
It's very power metal-ish.
I never, at that time, I was still into alternative music, and I never heard a guitar tone like that before.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And that is something that you find in power metal everywhere. But back then, I didn't know because I never heard of power metal. So, I mean, they were really bringing power metal to me way before I found it, like years later. So,
yeah, I
can give them that.
It's I guess it's more goth rock than power metal, but it's like there's a goth side of power metal too. Okay, so Zach, hit me with your first full-on power metal band.
First full-on power metal band? All right, I'm going to go with a band that some of you may have heard of, some of you might not have heard of this band. I'm going to go with Amaranth. And Amaranth is also a song from Nightwish, but we're not talking about Nightwish, we're talking about the band Amaranth. And one of the coolest things about this band is they are heavy. If you've not heard the song Hunger, definitely check it out. But one of the things that I really want to talk about this band is they have not one, not two, but 3 singers.
Ooh.
They have a female vocalist with clean vocals. They have a male vocalist with harsh vocals. And they have a male vocalist with clean vocals.
Ooh, I like what I hear. That's sick.
And it's like, this band completely blew my mind. I've been listening to death metal for a long time, and I decided to take a break from death metal for a little bit and get into power metal. And this band came out of nowhere with this song that was crushingly heavy. Kind of sounded like Gent a little bit, but still had that power metal style to it. Plus, they had 3 separate singers in one band. And on paper, it doesn't sound like that would work, but it works perfectly. I just like the dynamic between the 3 different singers. And the video kind of really helped, too, because the video was really cool. It started out with the Universal world-spinning intro. It's like the whole video is set up like a trailer for a movie.
That's cool.
It's really cool. And, well, it helps that the female singer is extremely attractive.
I think most power metal female singers are like goddesses. Like they literally look like they're picked from an oil painting.
I seriously think that like all these power metal bands are like secretly demigods.
I think so. They're all but gorgeous. Even like the guys look like they're chiseled from marble. They have amazing flowing hair. The women are like ethereal, like looking.
Like seriously, if you want to get into what Tim's saying, look up the band Rhapsody of Fire. You'll see that the keyboardist has an 8-pack. It is insane. It is a well display on all of their videos.
Well, I guess if you like fantasy, you obviously like stuff like that. I mean, the fantasy and power metal go hand in hand. I don't care what kind of fantasy it is. Before we go on, though, I want to ask you, and this is something that might be reoccurring throughout this episode. What do you actually look for in power metal? I mean, you mentioned a band that has a female lead singer. There are some power metal bands that just have male vocals. Some bands also that don't feature harsh vocals at all. So what is your ideal power metal setup?
I mean, I really like the big epic style. And then obviously that's a cop-out answer because most of, power metal bands are big and epic. But I really like that echoey drums, you know what I'm saying? I like that really big style. But I also like a gnarly guitar tone. So bands like Iced Earth, Symphony X, like super heavy. Not quite as heavy as Children of Bodom. They're also on this list, and I'll talk about them later.
Spoiler.
But I just like that really just hard sounding power metal. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a female singer or a male singer. They can have both. I know that like it's not necessarily power metal, but Opeth actually in their early days experimented with including a female singer on some of their albums. So, I mean, it's not something that has to be a prerequisite. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. Dude, now it's all that Coke I'm drinking, guys. Now you have me wanting to go out and find a power metal band that has a female and a male singer like Amaranth. But I don't know if Tim actually listened to the song Hunger.
Haven't heard them yet. I want to now. I didn't know they had three vocalists. Sounds awesome. I have a pretty short prerequisite for like a power metal band. I like male vocals, lower. I don't like the higher vocals. I don't mind the higher vocals if they're added into the song, but if it's all high vocals, I start to lose interest. I like the really classically trained like male vocals, and then I love lower, like Nightwish. Spoiler. I like her vocals a lot. It's kind of like it's smooth. It's not, it's kind of classical as well. And then I like fast guitar. I like fast drums. I also like harsh vocals mixed into my power metal too.
I almost schooled you there for a minute there when you were talking about Nightwish, because I was like, which Nightwish singer? Because they also have a male vocalist, and they've had 3 separate female vocalists in that band too.
Oh shit! Okay. So here's another thing we can also talk about. There's so much power metal out there. I find it hard to actually find a band and listen to all their albums. This is like one of those genres where I constantly dip my foot into it, and then I take my foot out and go somewhere else, and I always come back to it. And agree or disagree, a lot of power metal sounds similar.
Oh yeah, but you're gonna have that with every genre. But when you're doing power metal, it's kind of hard to sound different. Yeah, and a lot of bands have went to extremes to sound different.
It's a very traditional genre. No, totally. There are definitely those dark horses, but it's a very traditional genre of the structure. And also a lot of the bands are very prolific. If you find any of the most popular power metal bands, they've put out like an album every year or two. These bands are really and they're not on the radio or anything. This is a totally fueled by the fans type of genre.
Well, it's not really like that here in the United States, because that's not the type of music that's really popular here. But over in Europe, that kind of stuff flourishes.
Yeah.
I even have a story for you that I think it's the Norwegian version of The Voice. Nergal from Behemoth was a guest judge. So Europe has embraced metal into the mainstream. United States, not so much.
Yeah, come on, United States, get with it. So that's kind of like, I will admit, it's really hard for me to actually be well versed in a lot of power metal bands. However, the band I want to talk about is the granddaddies of power metal, probably the granddaddies of power metal who you all probably know, and you just, whether you've heard 1 or 2 songs, everyone pretty much knows this band, and that is Iron fucking Maiden. I don't really need to say much about this band. Basically, all I want to say though is that they brought power metal to the States, I feel like, and everyone knows The Trooper. Everyone knows 2 Minutes to Midnight. They're a brilliant band. Bruce Dickinson. I know they had a little vocalist in between in the mid 2000s, but Bruce Dickinson is Iron Maiden, and amazing voice, amazing guitar, amazing bass tone. He uses his fingers. A lot of bassists use picks. Their bassist, who I think is one of the only original. He's been in the band since the beginning. Brilliant band.
You mentioned that. I love how people, some bands can stay together for years, like AC/DC or like Aerosmith, Kiss. Well, Kiss for most of their career. We're not going to talk about the lineup change with Kiss.
I don't want to talk about them at all.
But they're iconic like that.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones, bands stay together for ever. Basically, that's the way it sounds. But I got a small confession for you. I'm not going to say that I haven't listened to Iron Maiden. I'm just not a huge fan.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a metalhead, and I'm telling you that I'm not a big fan of Iron Maiden.
That's totally respectable. I actually am totally cool with that. It's I don't actually listen to Judas Priest. and I'm not a fan of his vocals, but I can understand not really, being into Iron Maiden. They might be a little soft. I mean, I don't know.
I respect, like, I have to respect the band for being just extremely fucking inspirational and, influential on American bands like Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax. They are some of the reason why those bands exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I can totally agree with that. Like, it's not just Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. It's Saxon. It's Motorhead. It's Man of War. It's Accept. Those kind of bands. They're all over the place, and they are the granddaddies of power metal, speed metal, whatever you want to call it, thrash. I mean, it's power metal is this whole genre is something that I just want to call like chameleon metal.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole bunch of different subgenres there, but really it's all kind of the same thing. Speed metal, forgot to say that. Like, all these bands have the same kind of like influences in style.
Yeah.
Now, power metal went the more technical way. Like, they play face melting solos, just like insane guitar tricks that you try to do and fail at life when you try.
Yeah,
it's terrible. But you were talking about granddaddies, and I went on a fucking rant there. So
no, I mean that just really backs up the fact that it's a very traditional genre, but again, there are so many different variants of it. Like, honestly, I would actually tell you Iron Maiden is probably one of the less technical bands. They're very melodic, but they're very simple in their songs. But they've kind of honed that sound. So I do suggest you check out the album Power Slave. That's one of my favorite ones. It's a quick one. So.
And they're still releasing music today, but it's not exactly as influential as their older stuff. But hey, they're still making music. So
I did actually see them this past year at Madison Square Garden, and while the sound there is kind of shitty, I could tell that they're still tight as a band. It's kind of like when you see Metallica play and you're just like, holy shit, it's like they never stopped. Like, they're perfect live. Iron Maiden sounded amazing.
All right, guys, so I think it's time to get heavy. I think we talked about, the more technical style and the fantasy elements of power metal and gave you a backstory of where it came from, some origins. But now we're going to talk about the heavy shit. So let's talk about Nevermore. Nevermore is a band that I fell in love with. They're so heavy. They're so heavy, I almost don't consider them a power metal band, even though they are labeled as one. Jeff Loomis plays with 8-string guitars, 7-string guitars, and it just is so heavy. You're talking about technical riffage, they have it. Power, they have it. Heavy, they have it. They're just an all-around amazing band. There is some cool, like, balancing dual guitar riffs, which is pretty cool.
Okay. It sounds cool. I've actually never listened to them. The only thing I know about them, though, is that Jeff Loomis tried out from Megadeth, and Dave Mustaine turned him down, right?
Yeah.
Because he was too young?
Yeah, he was like 18 when he auditioned for the band.
Damn.
And then, as you know, years later, Chris Broderick joined the band, and he was the touring guitar player for Nevermore. So it's funny how the world works and that shit gets turned around. But
it's like sloppy seconds.
Yeah. But a band, the reason why I'm bringing this band up is because they're so heavy. It shows how much diversity there is in power metal. Like, you don't necessarily have to be this light band that's all about unicorns and fighting with swords and shit. It's actually can get really depressing and heavy. It can.
I mean, that's sort of like Iced Earth. Like, they have like really, they're heavy. They're way heavier than, they're more like metal, like it's like power and then it's like metal, they have really heavy, harsh vocals. So it's not like, I think you're right. It's not like everything has to be, you don't have to have a classically trained vocalist. You can have the power metal instrumentals, but you can have harsher vocals. What kind of vocals does Nevermore have?
More gravelly vocals,
Okay.
like like more, not necessarily harsh, but like hard vocals, like super like gritty vocals. You know what I mean?
That's cool. I like that. Actually, speaking of harsh vocals, I'm gonna have to do. There's actually two bands. I'm gonna lump them in. One that me and you love is Children of Bodom. Um, Alexi Laiho is, I think, one of the best lead metal frontmen working today. Actually, like they're still pumping out music. I have to admit, I'm not as familiar with their last three albums. It was like the white one and the gold one and something in between that. I'm a big fan of their first three albums, which is the red one, the blue one, and the green one. I personally love the green one. Also, as a quick side story, the first time I discovered Children of Bodom was in Baker 3, which is a skate video. And in Dustin Dollins' part, he used Downfall, which is on that green album. And I remember it was kind of like a revelation for me, like to hear symphonic parts and also harsh vocals, and then to hear like synth keyboard playing something that should only be done on a guitar, doing sweeps and everything. That was just kind of mind-blowing to me. So I kind of got into them, and they definitely got me into heavier music. What are your thoughts on Children of Bodom?
Children of Bodom is like the epitome of heavy for power metal. Like I said about Nevermore, they're almost too heavy to be considered power metal, but yet they're still power metal. That's like that diversity I was talking about with power metal. It's just harsh vocals. This is the kind of band that
no cleans.
No cleans at all. This is the kind of band that you will windmill headbang to. And I can show you about 1 million videos online of the band themselves windmill headbang. Like, this is the thrash metal fans' power metal band. Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you feel like power metal is too fluffy for you, Children of Bodom is definitely the place to go. The other band I want to just lump in there really quickly is 3 Inches of Blood. 3 Inches of Blood is pretty similar to Children of Bodom, but the vocals are way more like Iron Maiden or something a little bit more traditional, but they're harsh and they're these interesting, like, he's got a very interesting fry, like false chord scream. And he just goes for it. It's very fantasy based. They have songs called like Destroy the Orcs, and it's all about like Lord of the Rings. They have the song you guys might know is Deadly Sinners. I think that was in Tony Hawk, one of the Tony Hawk games, Tony Hawk 4, I think. It's seriously
sounds like skaters like power metal.
It was a great introduction to someone who, I wasn't that into it. They're a fun band, and I just think they're worth mentioning just because they are very traditional. They're that fast, thrashy power metal, but their vocals are like very interesting. And there are bands like there's a band called Pathfinder, and I believe Dragonland has similar vocals, but Pathfinder mixes up their vocals and does this almost like orc sounding vocal, which I personally really like. It's like an angry leprechaun. So that's what 3 Inches of Blood for me. It's like
angry leprechaun.
I like it.
That's great. I love it. Angry leprechaun. That sounds like a
band name.
Weird European beer or something. Angry leprechaun. I'm okay with that. I'd probably drink it. All right, guys, so it's about to get real nerdy in here. We're going to talk about Power Glove. Guys, I love Power Glove, and we're not talking about the failed Nintendo gaming device. We're actually talking about the band Power Glove that is an all-instrumental power metal band. And the thing that they're known for the most is their covers. They actually did 2 really awesome video game, classic cartoon show from the 80s, early 90s cover albums. And they cover everything from Inspector Gadget to Transformers to Batman to Power Rangers, Pokemon, Tetris. Anything you can think of, they covered it.
That's awesome.
And it's just, it's instrumental power metal, so you don't really have to worry about a singer, and it's just something that it gets the adrenaline going. I listen to the Batman theme that they've done every time I go to the gym, because it just I feel like I'm wearing the cape and cowl, and I'm going to take out all of Gotham's scum in Planet Fitness. Because
so they're power metal covers of really classic songs.
Yes.
That's
also
awesome.
Extremely nerdy shit too, like the Batman theme song, the Power Rangers theme song.
Yeah. Well,
what?
Are you familiar with the YouTuber E-Rock something 331
yes,
or whatever?
I am.
So he does power metal covers of all this crazy stuff. And another little side note, if you guys haven't checked him out, definitely check him out. But you guys have been listening to power metal your whole fucking lives, and that is the Power Rangers theme song.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy Johns said it best during his review of the Power Rangers trailer for the movie that's coming out next March. If you have not seen the trailer, go and check it out, because if you loved Power Rangers back in the day, it's so different and weird and strange, but it still reminds you of that. It's just like the most awesome, most power metal theme song I've ever heard for anything ever. Power Rangers theme song is the shit. Actually, I'm playing it right now. I really don't care. I'm playing it on the podcast. This is live. I'm doing it right now. You guys are going to hear it. Are you ready for this, Tim?
Yeah, let's do it.
And the awkward silence begins now.
Finally!
Okay, that's enough of that.
I was just waiting for the Herman Lee putting the pick on the frets.
Oh my god, tapping.
So I will definitely be checking out Power Glove, because me and you are both nerdy, and if you combine nerdy shit and power metal, it sounds awesome.
I mean, I didn't think they knew we were nerdy. I know that, we don't run movie-based channels or anything.
We're really cool. No,
I'm extremely cool. I have like 5 bitches, and no, I don't. I have nothing like that.
I only listen to Cattle Decapitation. That's it. That's all I listen to. Don't eat meat, and I only listen to death metal. So I'm gonna move on to a very traditional power metal band, probably one of the bigger known power metal bands, and that's Blind Guardian. I will again admit I'm not as well versed in them. Like, I've probably listened to a handful of songs off of each album, but one of my weird pet peeves about power metal is that it all sounds the same. Blind Guardian does that well, and I feel like if I'm going to listen to that classic standard power metal, I'll just listen to Blind Guardian, because they've got it down. They're heavy. They have great guitar work, great vocals. They're very nerdy as well, but I don't know how you feel, but it is kind of tough to just like imagine just like a power metal playlist, and you're just like, it literally just all sounds kind of similar.
Right. But Blind Guardian, it was another one of the first power metal bands I ever listened to, and nerdy is right, because most of their music is based off Lord of the Rings. My friend used to have this Blind Guardian wall hanger, which was one of their album covers, and it was like the most metal thing I've ever seen. Like this knight standing in front of a tavern in the midnight with the moon and the stars shining down on it. It was really cool. Like, I was like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
I want that. And he's like, okay, let's look this up. And then we commenced to headbang and talk about meat and metal for the rest of the night. It's just, like you said, it's the epitome of power metal, and it's like what you think of when someone mentions power metal.
Yeah, totally. That's pretty much like where I kind of stand with them. If they are the band that I kind of seek out.
And if that's the band that you seek out when you want to listen to power metal, this is the band that I seek out when I want to listen to power metal, and that is Pagan's Mind.
I thought you were going to say Hillary Duff.
Hillary Duff is pretty fucking metal. She's super brutal, dude. She's super brutal.
Pagan's Mind?
Pagan's Mind is super, super, super badass, guys. And a funny thing about this band is most of their album covers involve blue and topless chicks.
I like what I hear so far.
They did one album with, I think, a yellow background, but I believe there was still a topless chick on the cover of it. But they're just a band that I think of when I want to listen to power metal. They have the male vocals. He's extremely amazing. Their guitar player is insane. Their bass player is insane. The drummer is incredibly talented. And that's something that we forgot to mention with power metal. The just immense speed. Yeah. You have to be a world-class drummer to be in a power metal band.
Yeah.
To keep up with those guitar riffs, it's insane. I would not want to be a drummer in a power metal band after a concert. That has to be the sorest person there. There's no way. Yeah, your fingers hurt. My entire body hurts.
Yeah, where's the Icy Hot at?
Right? Like, Icy Hot sponsors power metal bands.
I haven't listened to them, but it sounds excellent. I mean, are they heavier or are they more fantastical?
Yeah, their lyrics are more fantastical, but they're more on the heavier side. Yes, okay. They are like your standard power metal band, but they're heavier than your standard power metal band. They're like right on the verge of could be super heavy, but manage to just stay right in that power metal pocket. They don't go the more fantastical side, but they don't go too dark, but they are pretty fucking heavy.
One thing I've found I'm not really as into is that Renaissance type of sound. I don't really like, I don't, even bands like In Flames and Dark Tranquillity, when they do those kind of like Renaissance sounding things, I'm just skip that. It's like, I'm actually here for the metal. I'm not into the traditional things. How do you feel about those?
I mean, I mean, okay. I don't know how to explain this without offending people. I'm not sure. I'll just go with this example. All right, the band Ailstorm that I talked about earlier. They're a pirate-themed power metal band. I mean, what's more nerdier than that? I'll tell you what's more nerdier than that. Their keyboardist also has a side project power metal band that is medieval knight themed.
Okay.
They literally play in full armor with chainmail. I'm not kidding.
Oh, I love that.
It's the nerdiest thing possible. And like I said before multiple times, power metal is the genre where you can do that.
Yeah. But
there is a point where you're going to get laughed at just a little bit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's that Coke, man.
I just don't want to listen to music where I feel like I'm walking through the town square and like, the Renaissance fair, and you got people working at the blacksmith, people hitting a fucking fish, like hung up, like skinning it. Like, I just don't want to hear that, or like, the crackling fire. There's a reason. So quick little band to mention that isn't really power metal, but they're definitely like close to it, and that is Trans-Siberian Orchestra. They have the potential to be so good, but they just lack that. And a lot of it is like this super corny, traditional sounding power metal, power rock. I want them to make a full on fucking heavy power metal album. I know they did make a non-Christmas related album, but I didn't listen to it, but I'm pretty sure it's not like fast and heavy, but they have really good potential.
So isn't Alex Skolnick from Testament the guitar player in that band, Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
I think so, actually, which is like really funny. It's like you go from like a a really popular thrash metal band, and then you just go into like someone doing canon rock for a Christmas band. Like, it's kind of cool. I mean, hey, See, everyone needs a little bit of power metal in them. Power rock, whatever.
Like, that is personally the way that I listen to my Christmas music. Power metal style. You know what I'm saying? I like power metal, and I like their covers of the classic Christmas songs. So that's how I get into metal. You know, the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, and you know, and Trans-Siberian Orchestra with Alex Skolnick from Testament as their guitar player. That blows my fucking mind, dude.
You just put on the Santa Claus on mute, put on your headphones, put on some fucking Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Drink my hot chocolate, eat my candy canes.
Sit in the dark, yep. Oh,
I'm so ready. Like, we could be talking about death metal right now and the Halloween themed shit. If we're talking about Christmas metal.
Although, you want to talk about Halloween, just change one letter, my friend.
Go for it.
Halloween. They might be one of the, also, like, if you got Blind Guardian, you also have Halloween. Yeah, Metal Claws. I'm doing it subconsciously. Halloween, they have a shit ton of albums. Honestly, the only album I'm familiar with is that one with the cloaked guy and he's holding the crystal ball. They're an interesting band for me. I love their fast stuff, but they're more mainstream rock, hard rock. I'm just not feeling it. It kind of bores me. And also their vocals are probably the closest to Bruce Dickinson. But when they get fast and they get into their long solos and dueling stuff, they're phenomenal. They're a staple for sure.
You mentioned Halloween, and all I can think of is David Bowie from Labyrinth. That's all I can think of, because I think their singer looked like him at one point with the hair and the. I'm losing my mind over here. I'm sorry, guys. This is a very serious metal podcast. We're taking this shit seriously.
But we're talking about power metal.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to take it seriously when we're talking about power metal. But I never personally listened to Halloween, so maybe I'll check them out. Maybe I'll watch Labyrinth when we get done with the podcast. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
If you don't like Iron Maiden, maybe Halloween might be a band that you might like a little bit more. They're heavier. Some of their songs.
I think I tried listening to them a long time ago, and I didn't really like the singer the first time I heard them. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like put them on back order. I'm like, maybe I'll listen to them. And I don't think I ever got back to checking them out. But the way you described it, I'm gonna have to give them a second chance. Like I said, everybody know this better than anyone. I'm a man of second chances. I gave AVP a second chance.
Love it.
I can give Halloween a second chance.
Vocals can make or break a band. That's the reason why I'm not a fan of Merciful Fate. Garbage.
What, you don't like King Diamond?
No. That sounds like no. Zach, what is your last band?
My last band, you already mentioned, and I'm going to steal it from you because you didn't actually talk about the band. I'm going to talk about Nightwish.
Great.
Nightwish is another band that has a male vocalist and a female vocalist. And they've actually had 3 female vocalists over their career. I don't know if they've had another one since. I think their current singer is Floor Jensen right now. I'm not sure. Go ahead, do a fact check on that for me, guys.
You have to apologize next episode.
Right?
Every episode, Zach, you'll just apologize first.
I was like, I said this wrong. I'm a dumbass. Yeah. But I've always liked Nightwish. I think they were crushingly heavy in their mid phase, and they've progressively gotten a little bit lighter over the years. The first album that I actually listened to them on was the album with their second singer.
Oh, okay.
Imaginarium. And it was an album that I was just infatuated with when I heard that it was coming out, because it took them years and years and years because of the departure of their singer and the new singer and to get this album out. But one of the coolest things about this album is that it's a concept album. And the fact that they actually filmed a movie along with the album that was financed by their country's government.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I never got to see the movie, unfortunately, but I did buy the album, the special edition, which was supposed to come with the movie and it didn't. I guess I got the wrong one. And I think I got the one with the bonus tracks instead of the one that came with the movie. All right, guys, I finally found it. They are from Finland, and the opening track to Nightwish's Imaginarium is all sung in Finnish, and it actually is a lullaby. It's gorgeous, guys. It has like the sound of a a nursery rhyme in the background, like a wind-up music box, and it's the male singer singing it, and it just is beautiful and hauntingly creepy at the same time. And it goes right into a super heavy track, and then followed by another one and another one, and then the rest of the album goes into a weird kind of jazzy, slowed down, not very Nightwish portion of the album. It kind of abandons the more straightforward power metal and goes into like a jazz version of metal. It's kind of weird, but I like it.
I consider them kind of to be that goth side of power metal. They've definitely got that. I mean, a lot of like Finnish music, like look at Him, they're definitely goth rock. To me, like I'm a new listener to Nightwish. I've heard their band name all along, never actually checked them out until recently. So I actually didn't know that they had multiple singers. But I really like actually their newest album. I like that it's a bit more mainstream. And I know you kind of said that as kind of like a kind of downfall, but I like that there's this mainstream pop goth power metal. And her voice is awesome, whoever the singer is now.
Tarjan Turnuman was the first singer. Annette Olsman was the second singer. The band that she was in was really good. And then Floor Jensen is the singer now. And then the male singer changed 3 times. 3 times as well.
Okay.
So
before we close this segment, just for the record, were there any other bands that you wanted to add onto your list that we didn't get to talk about in depth?
Yeah, there were a few other bands like Armored Saint, Firewind. If you never heard of Firewind, it's the band that Gus G is in. Gus G is the new guitar player for Ozzy Osbourne. And there was another band that I wanted to mention, Camelot. So maybe someday soon we'll do another power metal episode after Tim becomes a little bit more versed in power metal.
Yeah, definitely. Some bands I didn't get to talk about was Stratovarius, Sonata Arctica, Dragonland, Dragon Force. I mean, everyone knows them, but they don't realize that they're not just a one-hit wonder. Epica, Iced Earth, and Pathfinder. I think I mentioned those earlier. So, it's such a great genre to get into. There's also a really funny deathcore band called Necrogoblicon. They have power metal influences, but they're not strictly power metal, so they're really funny too.
I actually know a couple people that went and saw them live.
I think the lead singer wears a goblin mask. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they got their picture taken with him. He was wearing the goblin mask.
They're really talented.
All right, so guys, this has been episode 3 of the Metal Klaw Podcast with your boy Zach from Zach vs. the Blue Ridge Mountain and Tim from the Late Reviews. I actually said it right. I'm not a dumbass this time. Let's go with the social media shit. You can find me on YouTube at Zach vs. the Blue Ridge Mountain. You can find me on Instagram at the same thing. You can find me at Mall_Zach on Twitter, Zach vs. the Blu-ray Mountain on Facebook, and BlueTube videos on Facebook. Tim, where can they find you?
The Late Reviews on Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd, and then my YouTube channel is The Late Reviews 1. So if you just type that in, yeah.
Oh wait, we can't end the podcast right now. Well, as I recall, you put me on the spot, sir. So the ending, the introduction to the next week's episode, I'm going to give it to you. What are we talking about?
You think you're putting me in a stale spot, but you know what? I got it all planned out. And it's going to be a fun one, actually. We're doing new metal.
Oh God.
So that means anything from the 2000s, late 90s. We're going new metal. We can also talk alt rock if you want, but we're strictly going to be doing new metal. So
And all you need to know is I stand alone.
I stand alone.
Unless Tim's with me, and then I stand with Tim. But
So guys, new metal, get excited. For people Zach and I's age, this will be a great episode for you to go back to go down memory lane with. So whip out your CD player, get your shitty headphones on, and hope we got the anti
because it's going to get really weird, guys. It's going to get very 2000s in this podcast, very early 2000s. Yeah. So this has been the Metal Klaw Podcast from Zach for the Blue Red Mountain and Tim from the Late Reviews. Stay metal, my friends.
Oh, wow.